God of Rock, thank you for this chance to kick ass. We are your humble servants. Please give us the power to blow people's minds with our high voltage rock. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Now let's get out there and melt some faces!
I am Matt, also known as M of KILLWHITNEYDEAD. I am the vocalist and Grand Wizard. No, I kind of like the boss of the band. It's my little project. We'll just put it that way.
What made you decide to form KILLWHITNEYDEAD?
I wanted to sing for a band. I was in a band in North Carolina in the mid-90s, and I played drums and did some vocals on the demo because the other guys in the band were too chicken to do any vocals. So I did vocals there, and I sang in a band in high school in Delaware a long, long time ago, and I wanted to get back into it. But I didn't want anyone to know it was me, because I had already started a record label, Tribunal Records, and there's a lot of, I guess, prejudice that goes along with people that are on labels or run labels and start bands and things like that. So, but I wanted to get back into it somehow, so I figured let's just do something crazy, and I just started a band with some friends. So the rest is history.
How'd you come up with the name KILLWHITNEYDEAD?
This is a question that is asked often. The true story is this. There was a band called Flesh Parade. I work at a record store. There was a band called Flesh Parade, and they had a CD called Kill Whitey. And I worked with a girl who, his name is Whitney. We are actually great friends now. And they had changed the sticker on it to say Kill Whitney. And friends of mine called her up that night and was like, hey, do you have the new Flesh Parade CD? And they had her go look for it, and it said Kill Whitney, and they were playing a gag. I was like, ha ha, click. So, and we were just sitting around at Justin from Bludgeon's parents' house, like one night after being out for a weekend. We were just sitting around talking about, doing the band and things like that, and I just Kill Whitney, and because I think we were having a tough time there, and I was like, Kill Whitney dead, because it was kind of a play on Kill Whitey, because there's that phrase, Kill Whitey dead, and Kill Whitney dead somehow just stuck. I don't know. It's weird. It wasn't actually, we actually weren't going to use it. Like, we started the band conceptually, and it didn't actually take shape, and then when we were going to start the band and start actually like writing stuff, Whitney and I were in a good spot, so I thought it was kind of mean and vindictive about the name. But the other guys in the band who didn't know Whitney were like, no, name stays. And I was like, what? Name stays. So there you go, Kill Whitney Dead.
What influenced the original sound and kind of concept of Kill Whitney Dead?
Insanity. I just wanted something crazy when I sat down with the guys who wrote the music for the first CD. I wanted it short. I wanted it just crazy, and like the rules for all the records with anybody that is in Kill Whitney Dead at the time, with the revolving door of people we have in the band. It's thrash metal, guitar solos, Kerry King influenced guitar solos, and breakdowns. And we did some grindcore stuff. The grindcore was like, I was like just blazingly fast, and that's it. And I give that concept to the musicians, and then they come up with the music, and it goes from there. But Insanity was the main thing. I was like, I just want something crazy, because I had written tons of crazy, violent lyrics, and I was like, well, let's do something to match it, you know.
What's the reason for the fake band member names?
That goes back to people's prejudice and just kids. I didn't want to be prejudged. I wanted to be able to do something with more creativity and just be able to do the band and not have people be like, oh, it's Matt Tribunal's band, or, you know, oh, it's gonna suck. So I just kind of came up with it, and I didn't really come up with the concept. I was influenced by a band when I was in high school called Brujeria, who, when I was in high school, were allegedly Mexican drug lords. So everyone thought. I mean, they had a decapitated head on their album cover and all kinds of stuff. I mean, pictures with bandanas over their faces. And it actually turned out to be members of Faith No More and Fear Factory and Napalm Death. And I thought it was great. I was like, that is incredible. I was like, I'm blown away, because I thought they were truly Mexican drug lords playing this crazy metal stuff. So I figured, why not do it again? And I had to come up with a place that was out of the ordinary, some place where kids wouldn't be like, hey, I've never heard of this band from Flagstaff, Arizona. So, and I had been through Flagstaff a few times with my family and just kind of picked it, and it's off of I-40, so I had come up with the whole concept of the back storyline for the band, like how they got signed to Tribunal was like, I made a story of like the demo traveled across I-40 from Flagstaff to Greensboro, and it landed in our hands, and you know, it was more like a creative writing essay to come up with everything. But I just, you know, I had to come up with fake names because I never expected the band to play live ever. It was only going to be a studio project. And honestly, I never thought the band would do anything more than the first EP. So I didn't really think kids would care that much about the craziness, and you know, and then I had to come up with, it just led from one thing to another. Why isn't Kill Whitney Dead ever play live? Why have kids maybe never seen them outside of Arizona or even in Arizona? So I had to come up with they've been banned from every place, from, you know, mayhem erupting, which, you know, ironically enough is now happening at our shows. But, you know, the mayhem erupting, band members serving jail time for crimes, you know, unmentionable. It was just a story that I had to create because we weren't going to play live and people didn't know who we were and things like that. And it kind of steamrolled out of control, honestly, because kids were like stories were getting back to me that I had never even spoken about the band. And that's what the best part is kids have really taken Kill Whitney Dead as a band and the aura of it to another level, because they made up all these stories. It's great. I'm all for everything involved with it. So.
Woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil sends the beast with wrath, because he knows the time is short. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666.
The name of the first record is called Inhaling the Breath of a Bullet, and I believe it came out in 2001, probably 2000. I'm a little fuzzy on it all because it kind of just happened in a whirlwind. Like, it was just like, hey, let's do it, let's put it out, and it just went from there. But I want to say 2000.
Other than yourself, who were the musicians?
The musicians on that record were Tommy and Jeremy, who were in End of All. Tommy did the guitar and bass, and Jeremy played drums, and the engineer Jamie King helped out a lot as well. I gotta give him like major credit because he really helped out with the sessions. They were a little rough, but Jamie really helped out and we knocked it out. So.
What was the writing process like with these guys?
Well, the writing process for all the records is usually the same. The band goes and writes songs, and then we either go in and record the music first, and then I take that home and work on the lyrics, or I have the lyrics, and I just put it all together. But for that one, we went in the studio. They said they had a bunch of songs, but I don't think they did. We went in the studio and we just hammered out the music, like in one day. Hammered it all out. We were there from like 11 to 11 and recorded the whole record music in one day. I came back and did the vocals and samples over time. But the writing process for pretty much all the KWD records, except for the latest one, or the third one, have all been just kind of like sporadic. They just go in and write riffs, jot it down, and we go in and tear it up, basically.
And from start to finish on that album, how long do you think it took to record the album?
I'd say a total, if you put it all together, it was 1 day to record and maybe 2 to 3 days to do all the rest. So maybe 4 days total, but it was broken down in like, I would go in and, because I wasn't like a vocalist who was out there singing every other night, or we weren't a touring band, my voice has to warm up. Like when I do recordings, I usually record the record at least 2 or 3 times. I'll do a demo session and then go back and redo it because my voice will be stronger, and then by the third time I'm doing it, my voice is just where I want it to be and I get the best sounds out of it. So with that one, I would go in and do it, and it's only like 10 minutes of music on that CD, so I just went in and knocked it out over a couple sessions, and then the samples were not as elaborate as they have become in the newer records, so that took very little time because we were just kind of laying them in there and splicing it up and doing it like that. So it was probably like 4 days total. I'm kind of blowing the myth here that we're like, yeah, you guys are great. 4 days, that's it, maybe less.
I was in the fucking pit, man, and KILLWHITNEYDEAD was tearing it up, man. Those breakdowns were sick. I got busted the fuck open right there, man.
Girls stink. They stink. They're evil, and they're all bad. All of them. They're backstabbers. Like you.
When she offers to help, it'll be for her own reasons. I'm not lying. Take my pen. Write this down. Do not trust her.
Name of the second album is Never Good Enough for You. Again, with the dates, it's all fuzzy, and I feel terrible because I run the record label at the same time. That came out in 2003, maybe. You can put up the little thing at the bottom that says, I have no idea what I'm talking about. It might have been 2004, actually. 2004.
And who were the musicians to work on that album?
Let's see. I'm pausing because I wanted to maybe go back into the back line. But anyway, we won't worry about the history of all the things that unfolded in between those two records because it's all just garbled. But I went and found two other new musicians, B.J. Stevens and Justin Collins, who I'd known for years as they were in Bludgeon at the time. They are no longer in Bludgeon, but they were in Bludgeon at the time, and they were game to do it because I came with them with the concept. I said, hey, our EP is selling copies. People want a new record. What happened was we went to Hellfest. Not we as a band, but Tribunal Records went to Hellfest, as many of the hardcore kids know. And we set up a merch booth, and everybody comes up and talks to me. And a lot of kids were coming up asking about KILLWHITNEYDEAD and, you know, when's the new record coming out? And little they know that they were talking to the singer, but they were like, you know, when's the new record coming out? What's going on? Et cetera, et cetera. And I was at that point I had realized, wow, we actually have a following. Like, people are actually digging the record that we did, and I thought it was incredible because for something that we didn't take seriously as far as like any expectations. I mean, if we took the record seriously when we did it, but any actual expectations for it doing well, we didn't pay it any mind. But then to have kids be like they're loving it, so I came back to North Carolina, and things weren't working out with the previous two members. So I just started over and got Justin and BJ aboard, and they were totally down with it because they were writing riff upon riff after riff after riff for Bludgeon, and they weren't using all of them. Not everything was getting used in Bludgeon, and they had all this stuff. And I said, well, let's do a record. You guys want to be in KWD and do the record? And they were like, yeah. And it went from there. And we went, and I kind of gave them the same theory. I was like, you know, grindcore, thrash metal, breakdowns, solos. And we brought aboard Ryan McInturf was going to play bass. If we were actually trying to play live, he was going to play bass for us. And Travis Cook actually played some of the bass on Never Good Enough for You. So we had 5 guys at that time in the band. We actually practiced once as a unit, but it never worked out because like it was a big thing for us because it was distance. Ryan lived 3 hours away in West Virginia. Travis lived 3 hours away in Virginia. And Justin and BJ lived an hour away from me, so it was kind of like all this traveling and all of us having full-time jobs or being in school, it just didn't work out. So we kind of just we focused all our energy on the records and writing the music, you know, because that's what kids wanted, was another record, not to see us actually play. So.
Any difference in the writing process with the two new guys? Faster, better?
Definitely better. I mean, I guess it's not really fair because, you know, if people, you know, think that I'm talking bad about Tommy and Jeremy. I'm not. It's just I had known BJ and Justin better, and working with them through Bludgeon, I just kind of knew their writing style, and they definitely are a team. That's the best part about those two guys, is like they are a team. When they sit down, they can just mouth things to each other. Like Justin will just mouth an idea to BJ, like, and then BJ will pick up his guitar and just blaze it out. And they are so cohesive as a unit. Like, that's what impresses me the most about those guys, is they know what each other is thinking, and they can play, and they know where each other might be going, and that's really important as a unit. So that's the difference. Like, they can write songs really well, and they progressed as KILLWHITNEYDEAD. Aside from when they were in Bludgeon, like KILLWHITNEYDEAD has its own sound, and they've kind of, you know, helped create that, and they've just moved forward. They've progressed as musicians within the band. So.
You must die.
Between the Buried in Me's first record came out, and Will did this crazy power metal scream, and kids were really flipping out about that. As I spit everywhere. They were really flipping out about that. And then Will is a great singer. Don't get me wrong. Will Goodyear, phenomenal singer. But I really wanted to bring in a guy that really could do it and kind of show the kids that there are dudes out there with, vocals like Jeff Tate of Queensryche or, Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden that can really hit it. And I just happened to work with a guy who had just amazing vocal abilities, amazing. And his name is Sean Pilata, and he is Dr. Extremis Melodicus. And he also sings for a band on Tribunal called Line of Fire. Have to give them a little plug. Love that stuff. Sounds like Journey, and his vocals. I mean, people are just flipping out about that. But yeah, I worked with the guy and brought him in for a session, and then it'll be a continuing thing. He'll be on every Kill Whitney Dead record in some form or fashion. So, and there was also talk of doing a band with material that we weren't going to use for Kill Whitney Dead. Justin, BJ, and myself, and Sean, called Distinct Design, and it was going to be more like progressive, like crazy progressive metal, and then like with my screaming and his singing, like more like he would be doing choruses and I'd be doing the screaming stuff and just intermingled. But it kind of never took off the ground. We were all just so busy. He as a kid, and
I'm gonna send this one out to all the ladies in the house. Where are you? Let's hear you. Ladies.
I saw in your eyes that you hate the world.
What you see is what you get. I am the bastard you won't forget.
The minute I laid eyes on you, I knew you were no good.
Look in my fist, my fingers clenched. Betrayal makes me want to take a swing. The crooked smile smothers the pain, submerge the hate that begs to see.
Let's finish it.
I want to rip out your heart. I want to rip out your heart.
Would you one time kick it? What the fuck?
Don't you want to hear my last words?
I just did.
All your promises were just lies. All your promises were just
The art for Never Good Enough for You came from suicidegirls.com. Her name is Katie. I'm sure everyone knows about her. She is like one of the most popular suicide girls. And actually, what happened was a friend of mine had a membership. I don't. But a friend of mine at that time had a membership and went and he showed me this photo. She was like, dude, you got to check this out. This is the most crazy shit I've ever seen. And we went in and I checked it out and I was like, holy crap. And there was just this one image, and it's the one that made the cover. Everything else was cool. And I'll do an aside here. Things that I like to do on our records, like as far as artwork, because I kind of control all that. I'm kind of a controlling factor of the band. I really like themes, and with the first record, we put pictures from this death scenes book. So it was all like, you know, murders and things like that from like the 40s and 50s. And with that one, the cover image is a foot and a shotgun. Like a foot laying on the ground is all you see, and a shotgun. And it really went with the title. Like I saw that picture and I was like, that describes the title exactly, because the title describes suicide. It's inhaling the breath of a bullet. And it's like, you know, putting a gun in your mouth and pulling the trigger, and that's what that was talking about. And I kind of wanted to allude to something in that first one. And you open it up, and it's more pictures from that crime scene where the guy had shot his wife and then took his own life. And then we had another couple other pictures with it, but that was the theme for that. So back to Never Good Enough for You. With that photo set, I wanted a theme of pictures. The back of the CD is her reading a letter, and then the inside is all the stuff that happens after it. And that picture of her heart, she had ripped her own heart out. She had cut it out with glass, actually. And it fits so well with the title of the CD. And everyone thinks, like, with the band name and the violent lyrics, that that image and the layout depicts violence towards women, but it's not actually about that. It's about, you know, self-infliction. Like, she cut her own heart out and basically was saying, here is my heart, which is basically what the title is about. Everything I do is never good enough for you. Like, I give everything, and it's never good enough for you. And it's like the ultimate sacrifice you can give to someone. What I took from the picture was, here is my heart, and I'm giving it to you. I've cut out my own heart. Here you go. And that's kind of where I was just drawn to that image, and then we fit everything else around it. And we had talked to Katie about using it, and she was like, well, they already used it in another CD. Not that actual image, but they used pictures. And I was like, which one is it? And then I realized it was the Himsa album, Courting Tragedy and Disaster. And I was like, when I saw the cover again and I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, I recognized the running makeup. But what they had done is they had taken all the color out and taken pretty much all of the violence out of the pictures. And I talked to her, I said, look, you know, your pictures are phenomenal. And I was like, honestly, in my opinion, they kind of did an injustice to your pictures. I mean, I'm not slagging Himsa. Love that CD and love that band. But on that layout, they kind of took the essence of what those pictures were about out of them for their layout, and I wanted to put it back into ours. And so I talked her into it, and she let us use them, and you know, just looks phenomenal. Jacob Bigham did the layout and really, you know, fixed it up, because we couldn't get the original pictures from the photo shoot. There was a bunch of crossed wires, and we didn't even eventually credit the guy who took the pictures in the layout, and he was a little perturbed at that, but like, she never told us who took them. Anyway, but we did the best we could with them, and it turned out great. I mean, people were just drawn to it. I mean, for the concept and the reason for it to go on and on, since we weren't going to be playing live, you know, as far as marketing a record, you have to do something that I wanted to shock people. I was like, well, what is going to get someone to pick up a Kill Whitney Dead record who may never heard of us before? Because they won't have seen us live, they won't know anything about us, etc., etc. So I deliberately went after something that was shocking, and, you know, a bloody girl who's somewhat topless. You can't really see that because there's a lot of blood all over it. But the main goal was to shock as far as the artwork and get people to pick up the record, because I don't think, I mean, nowadays people put, you know, some importance into artwork, but as far as Kill Whitney Dead goes, I'm very in tune as to what I want to see on our artwork, and I kind of mold it and shape it and craft it into where it's going, and that's what I wanted to see, and it worked. I mean, it literally worked. So
Whores don't get
a second chance.
It's a motherfucker, huh?
Five words. Everybody here's had their heart broken, right? 5 fucking words you want to say to that person right now. You can burn in hell. Everybody up front right now. Let's go. Up. Ready? Everybody, let's go. Fuck the pit. Let's go.
You can burn in hell. 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 You can burn in hell.
rock and roll, eh?
How did the She Didn't Look Like She Had a Disease video come about?
That came about because these two French-Canadian filmmakers, Frank and Anouk, I think I'm pronouncing her name right, wanted to use that song in a short film they were doing called Le Bagman, which I eventually saw and was cracking up. It's hilarious. It's a guy, bag over his head, machete, killing people. If you're into Troma picture stuff, Le Bagman, look it up. It's not actually on Troma, but it's in that style. And they wanted to use the song, so I let them use it, and then, you know, it's all on who you know and what you ask people. And I said, hey, would you guys be up for doing a video? And at that time, KWD, or Kill Whitney Dead, had no intentions of playing live or being seen. And I said, wouldn't it be great to do a video? And kids would be like, I'll be like, hey, here's a video coming from Kill Whitney Dead. And kids would be like, oh, we're finally going to get to see them. We're finally going to get to see them, and then we're not in the video. So I gave them free reign on the video. I said, here's the song. Pick the, you know, pick what you want to do. Don't really care what it is, but graphic like Le Bagman. It's got to have murder in it. It's Kill Whitney Dead. That's what the kids want. Lots of blood, and they delivered the video. It took a while because they were doing other projects, because apparently they're really busy up there, which is awesome for them. And there was no rush. I mean, they were doing it they did it for free, which, you know, we are extremely thankful for, because it really has helped spread the name of the band and hopefully got them some more business. But they did it and had free reign. I mean, that's the best part about when I work with people with Kill Whitney Dead. I really don't put that many restrictions on them, unless it's like artwork, like design and layout stuff. Like when I get the pictures, this is what I want. But as far as people taking pictures or things like that, it's kind of like free reign, as long as they work within the themes that I want. And, you know, I gave them free reign. It's like blood, that's it. And killing. Blood and killing, that's what we want. And they delivered a kick-ass video that we are all super happy with.
He was already dead. He died a year ago, the moment he touched her. They're all dead. They just don't know it yet.
must die.
The third record is So Pretty, So Plastic, and that came out in 2005. The span, or 2004, the span was 10 months. I remember we did Never Good Enough for You, and BJ and Justin had already written the music for So Pretty, So Plastic. So we went right back into the studio, since we weren't a touring band, and cranked it out. And the success of Never Good Enough for You was kind of, it's still building now. Like, people are still going back and finding that record and really enjoying it. But at the time, our core fan base were really into Never Good Enough for You, and they were hungry for more. So I said to myself, well, if we're not going to tour, we need to capitalize on this and get them another record. And we were having fun doing it. Like, we were at a point in the lineup where it was fun making these records. I'm not saying it's not fun anymore, but it was fun at the time to make the albums, and we were having a great time and just got back into the studio because they had more fun riffs. And again, with the evolution of their writing, like the songs were taking on whole new shapes and like a whole new, like a whole different direction. It was awesome. It was great.
Any guest vocals on that album?
We had Sean, Dr. Extremis Melodicus, back again with a bigger part. This time around, he sang vocals on the final actual song on the record and had like a huge, like when you hear the song, he's all over the end of it. Like we kind of wrote that for him. And then Gary Forsyth of Swift was on it. I really wanted to get him on there because I think a lot of kids don't know about that band. And I mean, they know Jamie King, but a lot of kids don't know that aside from producing, Jamie King plays drums in Swift and is the metal god. Like, he and I would just sit around and talk for hours about heavy metal and stuff in the studio because he and I are almost the same age, so we had the same era. But I wanted people to hear Gary scream because Gary can scream way better than I can. And so I brought him in to do this song with us, and people are always like, who is that guy? And I'm like, it's Gary from Swift. You need to check Swift out. The guy rages. So that's who was on that record. And then there's a few phone messages that people left for us. There's a real one, which would be a girl named Christina that she left for me on my voicemail one time, and I had to save it because it was just, you have to hear the record. And then one was people, think is real, but it was actually for a girl named Peyton. I needed a line for a song. I wanted a girl on the phone saying, I hate your fucking guts, because someone actually said that to me, but over IM. And I was like, well, I need that for a song, so I had her call up, and I was like, say it like 20 times in a row, and we'll just pick the best one. So I had this message of her saying, I hate your fucking guts, I hate your fucking guts, over and over in all these different voices. And there were actually people that really got mad when they heard the remix record with that on there. Like, who the fuck is that girl? And why is she saying that about you? And I was like, well, if you heard our songs, she might not like them. People are entitled to say what they want. But anyway, so that's that.
We want to welcome you to the most dangerous 30 fucking minutes of your life.
You're all gonna die.
Who's the girl on the cover?
That is Molly. Molly Murder is what she goes by now, I believe. She's also on the re-release of the CD with some more graphic stuff. But I met her through Swift, and she had a friend who was a photographer. That's what you do in the music industry, or when you run a record label. You look for people that know people that can take pictures or do layouts, and it's this little community. And I had met her, and I was like, hey, would you be up for doing something? Because she was already a fan, but she didn't know that it was me until I guess I had told her. And she flipped out and really wanted to do it. And I gave her, again, I had a theme for the artwork. I said to myself, we are going to go completely opposite because everyone thinks that we're all about gore and murder and killing and things like that. And I wanted to do something, I guess, a little more elegant, something to throw people off. Like we changed the logo, and I wanted to keep the red, like the blood themed element, but it would just be red. And so we just we went with reds and whites for it. And we just, you know, I was like reds and whites. She even dyed her hair red and put some blonde in it. And they just had a red dress, and she had a white shirt and red lipstick. And then the other theme was the lipstick smear that you see inside the CD, because that was the image that I wanted, but it didn't really fit with the cover. But we put it inside. That was the original theme, was the so pretty, so plastic. And the lyric is so pretty, so plastic, and so cliche. And the song talks about how the scene is more fashion-oriented. I know everyone's heard this a billion times, but it's kind of important because kids are worried more about how they look and how their bands look than more so if they can actually play their instruments and things like that. So that song is a statement unto itself, and a lot of people think it's me being derogatory towards women because it talks about sucking cock and things like that, but it's more so talking about kids lapping up what these labels are feeding them, the images that they're feeding them. So the lipstick smear was a girl who was, all dolled up, but was really upset by it, was just like tired of it, was just like, just gonna smear the stuff off of her face, and that's where that came from. So, but yeah, Molly Murder is her name, to answer the original question.
Here's a question for you. What do you call a person without character, without integrity, without loyalty, without respect? I call that person a fucking waste of my time.
There's only love and hate. You either love somebody or you hate them.
Who recorded the album?
Jamie Metal King. It's been awesome. He is a trooper, because our records are not the easiest to record. But he has been awesome. I know he gets perturbed with me when I go in to do the sound bites, especially with So Pretty, So Plastic and the remix record. Because we did the one record, we did the first version of it, and then I came to him with the concept of the KWDMF remix, and he was all game for it, but when it really gets down to it, it became a tedious process. Excuse me. But he was a champ, and then the mixing of the records is where it really, really gets to him. Because it's so, every little thing, it's like, can't hear it, raise it, lower it, too much, too little. And you're dealing with 200 things on a record, or with us like 150, not just the music, we're talking about everything else. And but he's a trooper, and he is basically, at that time, the fourth member of KILLWHITNEYDEAD, because he really puts in a lot of input and comes up with ideas for us as far as arrangements. I mean, I arrange stuff with the band and do some stuff in the studio, but he comes up with stuff. We tried to get him to do a guitar solo, but the closest we could get him to do was an outro part on Never Good Enough For You. There's a part where he plays guitar on the end of it, but he won't do a solo. I really want him to do a solo, but he won't, but maybe for album number 4, guitar solo, Jamie.
What were the inspirations for the KWDMF album?
The artwork was inspired by a band called KMFDM, who is like an industrial metal band from, I guess, the mid-'80s and still going now. And anyone who's familiar with their material knows that they have a theme for their records, which is what I love, as I've said before, is the theme element. And all their records have like an image down the middle with a certain way the coloring is done, and it just says KMFDM, and then the title will be like Naive or like Extort or whatever their album title is at the time. And I showed that to the guy who did the layout for the So Pretty So Plastic CD, and I was like, I want to do something like this. So he took a picture from the layout and then just turned it into the style, as far as the solid colors and things like that, what KMFDM does. And the concept of that actual album was, when we were doing the sessions for So Pretty So Plastic, I had so many sound bites left over. Like, I had a stockpile like you wouldn't believe. And I found, as I was selecting them for the record for So Pretty So Plastic, I was finding so many that were fitting with the themes of what I was doing already on the record, and I was having trouble choosing which ones do I want to. Well, I would really like to use this one, but this one's great too. And I just took on the project and said to myself, well, why not do a bonus disc for the fans, because they all seem to love the sound bites so much, that I'll just do a special pre-order deal and we'll do it all over again. And I replaced everyone on So Pretty So Plastic with a new version, and it was our version of a remix. Like, the music's not really different, although there are a few alterations, so if any of you fans can find them, you can email me, maybe I'll send you something. But there's, I think, 2 on there. But yeah, we didn't change any of the music, it was just the sound clips, and I thought it was funny. It was our take on our remix. So, and kids seem to eat it up, because the feedback that I get is kids like some of the songs on the remix record better than they like on the album, and I'm assuming they don't mean the music, because the music's the same. They like the actual clips better. So, but that's the point of having the extra record. You can find in it what you want and take from it and enjoy it.
Where'd you get the idea to include all the sound clips?
There's a few bands that I listen to. I mean, I really love it when bands did it that I listen to, because it does bring a different element to it all. Like, you're listening to music and something comes in and you're kind of like, oh wow, that's really cool. It fits with the song, or it's something that it just adds something different to the music. It's not just music, and it's not just the singer's voice. It's another voice from somewhere else that comes in. And there was a band from New Jersey called For the Love Of, whose first album was just riddled with them, and it blew me away. I loved it. Not everything related to the songs, but it was cool. It was just really, really awesome. And they were one of my main influences. And then a band from England called the Manic Street Preachers, who most people probably have never even heard of, but they are just arrogant, cocky British dudes, and like really don't like America too much, or at that time they didn't, or the presidency or our government. And their record had tons of them, and it was just awesome because that was a rock record. But that's kind of the thing, like, but my goal was to say, hey, yeah, I can do it like some of these other bands. And a lot of people said we stole it from Mortician or whatever. But I mean, my goal was to, yeah, these bands are here, and we're gonna be here. Like, I wanted to, if I was gonna do it, I wanted to do it better, and I wanted to do more of it. So that was kind of where I went with it.
What do you look for in a sound clip?
Something that it's got to be something that draws your attention, and if it fits a theme, like with a lot of the records, I try and keep the sound bites to the theme of the music. That's one of the things people love about our records, is that it's not just a random clips thrown in there saying, hey, this and that. Like, I really try to make them fit, and it's gotten more intense with each record. The first record, the sole goal for the samples was, if you listen to the record, in the dark, I wanted you to be scared shitless. Like, that was the point. And people have said, man, I can't listen to that record in the dark. It just really freaks me out. But with the second record, I really set a goal of trying to make it cohesive, that they're not just in there to be in there. They're in there because they have a purpose, and they serve as an additional voice to my own as far as the record. But what I look for in them is just, you know, something that really hits. I hear a lot of bands use them, and I mean, I don't want to be cocky about it, but I just laugh because they have these clips that come in, and I just got a demo from a band the other day. It's like a minute and a half long, going, and it has no climactic point. Like, there has to be a climax to it. Like, so when the music kicks in, you're like, fuck yeah, you know, and you're really into it. And a lot of bands just don't grasp that. So I look for clips that, you know, have a climax to them and really make they make a point, whether it's like 2 words or it's a minute long. You know, you kind of just look for something that's vital to what I'm doing, and it's not just going to be in there as something superficial.
What is up, Raleigh? First off, we want to thank you all for coming here and not going to see Kid Rock tonight. I want to be a cowboy.
Why did it take so long to get out and tour?
Personnel issues, personal lives. What happened after we put out So Pretty So Plastic, I knew we had to start playing live. Like, kids were demanding it. Like, the internet has just, music has just blown up all over the internet. Like, nobody knows that already. But I knew we had to get out to keep the band alive. Like, we had to put faces to it. We had to get it out there and you know, keep it going. And I waited as long as I could for Justin and BJ to be able to do it. And Justin had gotten married, and BJ was doing other stuff. I think at that time he was still in Bludgeon, so it was kind of like a trade-off. And Bludgeon at that time were doing a lot of touring, and it really presented a problem. So I went to those guys and I said, look, I really want to take KWD on the road. You know, and I've waited long enough. Like, the record's been out, kids are hungry for it. You know, do you guys have any problem with me taking it out on the road? And they said, no, we completely understand. You know, take it out there, spread the word. And went from there. You know, so all the time before that, the first record we had no intentions of touring, and the second record we tried to and start playing shows, but it just didn't happen. And then by the third record, it was just the people's lives were just too busy. So it was kind of like, need to find some sort of means to make it happen, and so I did.
How'd you hook up with the guys in the live band?
The guys that are currently in the live band are in a band that's on Tribunal, and the rumors going around are that I signed them specifically because I wanted them to be Kill Whitney Dead, which is completely false. I didn't understand that they were into all that into KWD so much until I talked to them later after I had signed them, having our meetings. That's how I got to know them. So what happened was I had found out that they have a side project of their own called Granny Grunt. And that band is specifically mimicking the first Kill Whitney Dead record. Sound bites, short grindcore, breakdowns, etc., etc. And I knew when I wanted to get a live band that there would be no sense in putting together pieces. Be like, oh, I want this drummer, and I want this guitar player, and this guitar player. It's just too hard. So I knew I was going to have to find a band that basically I could put myself in front of. Because, I mean, it would basically be a Kill Whitney Dead cover band because it's just me. But I think I'm, you know, I'm not the focal point of the band, but it's my voice that people are hearing. And I know that sounds egotistical, but it's not that at all. But it's my voice that people are hearing, so that's what people identify with the most, and the sound bites. So, but I found them; they were totally down with doing it, and we learned a set in 2 practices. We learned 8 songs, and we played our first show for the Tribunal Records and Katrina benefit in Greensboro. And a lot of people thought it was a joke because there was only like 3 days notice, and people were like, oh, they're never going to play. They don't ever play live. It's just a hoax. They just want to get more people to come out. And then when we actually played, people kind of flipped their shit, and we're like, holy crap. I mean, it was the first show, and it was a little rough around the edges, and we were kind of, you know, not sure how people would take to us and things like that. But since then, I mean, the live shows have, well, anybody can check out our videos online or the videos on the DVDs and things like that, and they'll see that the responses have been really great. And our performances, honestly, have only been getting better. I mean, we've had some technical difficulties, but when you're dealing with as many sound clips as we have live, you know, things like that happen. And when we get a little crazy on stage and jump around and, you know, stuff skips and gets a little out of whack. But it's all about the performance and going crazy, and that's what the kids I think are feeding off of. Like, you know, there's no bullshit when you come and see Kill Whitney Dead. I mean, we're there to have a great time, and we want everybody to have a great time with us, because without, and I say this on stage all the time, without the fans, there would be no Kill Whitney Dead, because we never played live. It was always the fans that supported the music and supported the records and things like that, and now it's us performing for them and having them be part of our show, because that's the most important thing for me. Because, I mean, I listened to hardcore when I was in high school and in the 80s, and like pile-ons and sing-alongs were really important, and that's what's important to keep hardcore alive, is participation. Yeah, sure, you can go see these hardcore bands on these big fests, and there's a barrier, and you know, and it's really hard to participate. Yeah, you can scream along in the crowd, but what I love more is that, you know, even the singers that come down off the stage and get in front in the barrier and you know, and try and connect with the crowd. I mean, it's really, really important. That's why I love playing shows without barriers and being up close and in people's faces, because it's more honest that way. And I don't know, it takes me back to when I was in high school and enjoying these shows, and that's what made me, at my age, still want to be a part of hardcore. Because, I mean, most people my age are not involved with hardcore at all. They've got, you know, they're working and doing all that kind of stuff, and you know, I'm kind of fortunate that I've kind of been able to do this, and right now things are starting to take off for the band as far as being able to get out there and play, and I'm very thankful for the fans. So,
how special was it having Sean at the first live show?
It was awesome. Like I said, we practiced twice, and we had that song in the set. Because it's a fairly easy one. It was easy for us to learn, and like the 2 practices that we had. And I just called him on the phone, and I was like, hey dude, we're playing a benefit show, and I would really love to have you part of that and come up and perform with us. And he was totally down for it. We didn't rehearse. He knew his parts. I mean, he's a pro, so he knew his parts, and he came out and nailed them, and people were literally blown away. Like, I don't think they understood what was coming. Like, some people did when we announced it, but a lot of people didn't know that he was going to be able to hit that note as perfectly as he does on the record. So it was awesome to have him up there, because he's a really special guy. So, you know.
Who else contributes to the live show?
We have Molly Murder. She comes up and does. We try and change up the live set a little bit from some of the songs. Like, we realize that when kids come to see us, they want to go berserk and dance and have a really, really great time. So we've adjusted some of the songs and added parts and changed parts, and we added a extra breakdown in one of our songs, and we just kind of left it a part where Molly can come out and scream, because she's got a great voice, and hopefully we'll find her a band soon. And she just wants to let out some steam like all of us, and she kind of just gets up there and gets a little rowdy.
I want to once again thank all of you for supporting North Carolina hardcore.
Supporting our alcoholism. Thank you.
Speaking of that,
who said that? Do it, baby.
Any current inspirations on the music?
I really want to get back to, for me, like 80s thrash metal. I mean, I know it's cliche now and everybody's doing it, but for me, I really want to pay homage. Well, some of these bands are still going, like Exodus are out on the road, but like old Exodus, old Dark Angel and Forbidden, a lot of the Bay Area, and then like Anthrax and things like that. I love singing over that kind of stuff. Like, those are my favorite songs to do when we have those songs live, are the ones that have the thrash parts. So hopefully that, I mean, it's still going to be breakdowns, because that's what kids love. They come to kill each other at the shows, and we totally encourage that. Not literally killing each other, but, you know, dancing hard and having a good time and singing along. So, I mean, we know what kids want from us, and we will write it, but hopefully change it up a little bit. You know, there's some bands that do well and sell records, and they kind of just stick with a formula, and that's it. Like, we have a formula, but at the same time, we have evolved and have continually evolved to change things up. You know, whether our fans want to grow with us or not, it doesn't really matter. We do it because we want to have fun, but we know what's going to get the kids riled up at shows, so we write that kind of stuff, and then experiment on other things. So, but those are the influences so far. Well, who knows how it'll turn out? Because, you know, I don't really write the music. I kind of just hand over CDs and say, let's sound a little bit like this, or let's try something like this, you know, and And that's the best part. You never know what's going to come. I never know what those guys are going to crank out. They just give me demo tapes, and I start listening to it and going, holy shit, I love that riff. Let's do it more. So, but anyway.
What are the plans for the future?
We're going to re-release So Pretty So Plastic because I was happy with the artwork, but I wasn't happy with the print of it. And the pictures that they had taken were a little pixelated, and there was no fixing that. So I really wanted to do something different, and because of the fire that burned down the Tribunal offices, we lost a lot of the bonus CDs, the KWDMF CDs, and we've gotten new fans that want to hear that stuff, and people are asking all the time because I have a couple tracks online, what are those? I don't recognize that stuff. So what we did is we did all new artwork, put a video on it and some wallpapers and screensavers, and added the content of the KWDMF remix CD as one long bonus track, like 32-minute track, and you can listen to it all, and that way kids can get it that maybe weren't able to get it before the fire, because there really aren't many left out there. It's kind of like now really a collector's item, because I probably lost at least half of what I pressed. So the original limited pressing is now super limited. And we're planning on touring the United States this summer. I think we're going out for 7 weeks, hopefully. We'll see. Going to do that, and then when we come back, we're going to work on a new record. We had planned on recording a new record before we left, but with the live shows happening so much and so frequently now, we're kind of like basically focusing on getting our act together to play live, and then the record will be done. A little bit less pressure to do it when we get back. So that's about it. And then conquering the world. We'll go. People want us to come to England and Australia and Europe, but we'll see what we can manage. We had to turn down a tour of Canada just because of schooling and things like that, but we will be coming everywhere soon.